going to be creating a very simple but effective makeup design of a rainbow fairy. This is one of the simplest special effects makeup designs that I do because it only uses eyeshadow. It doesn't even use face paint. But I think that it comes out really pretty. And so we're gonna get started. The first thing that you need are makeup wipes. I love makeup wipes. I use them for 3 different things that barely even include taking off makeup. So the first thing, even if you're not wearing makeup at the start, even if you think you have a clean face, it's always nice to start with a slightly cleaner face. It gets any of the oils, any of the extra stuff you missed, and prepares the way. But don't throw this away because then I fold it in half, fold it in half again, and then into a triangle. Now this becomes what I call my makeup eraser. I can use this corner to do fine detailing work, and then I can use this side to clean my brushes as I go, and that's going to be really important in this particular class because we're changing colors so much. Now, throughout this time, I'm going to tell you what specific products I'm using. That's not because I'm an affiliate. I don't make any money off of these products. I just want you to know what I'm using for your benefit. So the makeup wipes I use specifically are the Aveeno Ultra Calming Wipes. I like them because they're really soft and they smell nice, and they've been really good to my skin. And speaking of which, it's really important to be good to your skin. This is not an all-over face design, so if you want, you don't have to use a foundation, but I'm going to. But if you're putting color on your face, you should always put something on the base of your face, even if it's just a moisturizer. So that is where I'm starting, is with moisturizer. And the moisturizer I'm using is actually a matching moisturizer to the makeup wipes. It's Aveeno Ultra Calming Daily Moisturizer. Now, depending on the makeup design, sometimes I'll use as many as 5 layers of primer before I even get to the color. One of the reasons for that is because it helps protect my skin, but also it will help me get the makeup off. Since this is not as complex of a design, I'm not going to use as many layers of primer for this particular one. I'm just going to use the moisturizer and my regular foundation, and then I'll use a couple of specific primers in specific areas. So I'm just going to use my foundation, and I actually don't spend a lot of money on foundation. I use Maybelline Dream Radiant Liquid. I find that it is just as effective as some of the more expensive foundations. I prefer to buy slightly higher quality eyeshadow. So I also generally use my fingers to apply my foundation rather than a blender or a brush. That's because I feel like you lose a lot of product in the brushes and in the blender, and you can't quite get into the same level of all of the different nooks and crannies of your face. Plus, this gives you a chance to kind of give yourself a little face massage and just look at yourself and tell yourself how much you love yourself. Because this is all about having a little bit of time for you. Also, when I'm putting on both my moisturizer and my foundation, notice I'm using my middle finger and my ring finger, not my forefinger. It's because I have a softer touch with those fingers. And I'm going to seal that base with some translucent powder. And these are all preliminary steps. You can skip them if you want. All right. So now we're ready to really get started on the most complex part of this design, which is the eyes. We're going to spend most of our time on the eyes. The first thing, like I said, I was going to use specific primer in a couple of areas, and so I'm going to use an eye primer. Eye primer is kind of like sticky contact paper or tape that catches the eyeshadow and makes it stick a little bit better. And it also, again, helps protect your skin. You don't have to spend a lot of money on your eye primer either. My eye primer I get from a company called Tattoo Junkie, and it's only like $6. You could spend like $50 on eye primer. Don't. It's not worth it. But you just gently put some eye primer on this entire eyelid area. If you don't have eye primer, you could use concealer for this same step. And it functions in much the same way and gives you a stronger foundation than just foundation. Now we are ready for color. Okay, so I'm going to be using the Lisa Frank palette by Morphe. It has all of these wonderful bright colors, all the colors of the rainbow. You can use any rainbow colors you want. You just want to make sure that they are nice and bright. So I'm going to start out using, it's called a small blender brush. It looks just like this. If you have a brush that looks anything like this, that's fine. You just want it to not be really fluffy at the end, because you need it to be able to make small motions. And the first color I'm using is a turquoise blue, so a bright blue, not a dark blue. I'm going to take that color and I'm going to start right along my lash line with that blue. A very gentle motion. I want to make a nice line about 1/4 of an inch thick. Go all the way across. And I'm using a very gentle touch, kind of more like you're depositing the eyeshadow, not rubbing it on, because if you're rubbing it really hard, you're just going to rub it right off. It's almost like you're touching it with a feather. And then when you get to the end of your eye, keep going just a little bit further and a little bit up, kind of like a little wing with your blue. And then the thing about beauty makeup is you have 2 eyes, and most beauty makeup is symmetrical. So now we want to do the same thing on the other side. So this is what the blue should look like. Maybe a little darker on that side. And so you want it to be really bright. It's okay if it's brighter than what you ultimately are going to want it to be. Now I'll wait for just a moment for you to catch up, but I'm going to clean that blue out of my brush on the bottom of my makeup wipe. Now we're ready to move to our next rainbow color, which is green. We want a really nice contrasting green, so I'm going to use a lime green. Of course, if you don't have lime green, use whatever green you've got. And we're going right above that blue. Don't worry about blending anything together at this point. Just a line right above the blue. About the same width. But when you get to the end of your eyeball, don't go any further with the green. You stop right about there. You do the same on the other side. And clean off my brush. And I'll wait for just a moment. Again, you have the blue that extends past the eye, the green that just goes right to the end of the eye. Now it's time for yellow, and yellow is a little bit different because you want, first of all, you want to have the brightest yellow that you can get. For people with a lighter skin tone like me, paler yellows just disappear because they're so close to your skin. For people with darker complexions, a paler yellow will still look good, will look better, but the brighter yellow, the more of a rainbow you're going to get. So you can see I have this really pretty yellow, but this yellow is going to look better. So I'm going to use this marigold type yellow. Now my yellow is going to have to go from here up past this crease in my eye and above that, or else we won't be able to see the yellow. Now, if you don't have a crease in your eye, if you don't have that particular shape in your eye, then you don't have that problem as much. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of yellow that is twice as wide as the green. Because I need it to go through the crease and above. Because see, now when I look straight at you, you can still see the yellow. It doesn't hide in the crease. Sometimes it feels like you're chasing yellow. But without yellow in a rainbow, it doesn't look like a rainbow. You know, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people like sell rainbows missing a color or two. Just like, really? You couldn't include orange? The worst is when they leave out purple. It's like, what? Kidding me? All right. I'm cleaning my brush. Now this next step is different from what we've done so far. I'm going to take an orange, and I like this orange right here. I'm going to take orange and I'm going to go from the middle of my eyebrow out in a curve fashion to form the outside of the rainbow. And trust me, we're still going to get all the colors. I just told you I don't like it when people don't include all the colors. But this goes from here down for the outside of the rainbow. From the middle of the eyebrow down. So orange from the middle of the eyebrow down the outer curve of the rainbow. And then I'm going to take a red and do from the middle to the inside for the inner curve of the rainbow. Sometimes I'll use a burgundy, but I don't have a really good burgundy in this palette. So I'm going to use a red. I may put a little bit of pink as an accent just to soften this red. It's going to be really, really red. And right now it is brighter than I want it to be, but it's not going to stay this way. Particularly the red is brighter than I want it to be. I'm going to add a little bit of pink. Gives it a little burgundy. But again, that's not all of the colors. Now, if you got any fallout on your cheeks, which you might have, that's if any of the eyeshadow fell down, just take your makeup eraser and just clean it up. You also can use this to clean up the edges if you need to, if you got any outside of the area where you wanted it to be. Now, we're still not done. We still have 2 more colors of the rainbow, and then we have to blend. But I'm going to change brushes. I'm changing to an angled liner brush. It looks like this. It's a small brush. It's flat and has an angle. I'm going to use a darker blue or an indigo. And I use this on the inner lower corner of my eye, underneath the eyelashes. not inside the eye, underneath the eyelashes. I'm going to be doing all of my lining with eyeshadow. I usually do eyeliner with eyeshadow. Sometimes I'll add a liquid liner on top of that, but eyeshadow does a really good job for a liner. So just a little bit, just about a third of the way across your eye. Then I'm going to take a nice bright purple and continue that line the rest of the way across. And then I'm going to continue my thin line of purple underneath the blue. So now we have extremely bright, opaque rainbows, but rainbows are not opaque. Rainbows are translucent. They're made of light. So it's time to make them translucent by blending. I'm going to take a different brush, this time an open eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to take some of this eyeshadow off. Now, you want to go slowly so that you don't take too much off at a time, but if you take too much off, you can also always add some on. Use a very light touch and blend the layers together. And you can take as much or as little as you want. If you need to, you can clean the brush, but be careful not to get the brush too wet because you don't want to be putting a wet brush back onto your eyeshadow. And then I'm going to clean up around the edges again. Especially this inside edge. You see the difference between this one, which is blended, and this one, which is not. Makes a big difference. Now I did not blend as much along the bottom edge. I left that blue really bright, and I didn't blend it all underneath. And you kind of want to make them match, so you want them about the same level of opacity. I also want to darken my eyebrows at this point. You could do a couple of different things depending on what kind of look you're going for. I like to go a little bit darker with my eyebrows. I am going to use a really dark blue, really dark blue. I'm going to use that same angled liner brush and just darken just a little bit. Also, sometimes it helps if you're lining up your eyebrows, because most people, your eyebrows are not exactly symmetrical, but it can help to hold a makeup brush across from one side to the other so that you can see, okay, this one needs to be a little bit emphasized on the lower side while the other one was emphasized on the higher side. Eyebrows really frame a face. And if you've spent this much time on your eyes, you might as well spend a few moments making your eyebrows look just a little bit more put together. And the last thing I'm going to do with my eyes is my mascara. I told you I really, really love primer. I have what's called mascara primer. It actually is my favorite mascara product because it makes my eyelashes, it really does make my eyelashes appear much longer. I have done every sort of eyelash thing, including eyelash extensions, and mascara primer is my favorite. I like it better than like the mascara with stuff in it. This stuff is great. So you put the primer on first. And it's L'Oreal Voluminous Primer. And then I'm going to use mascara. Comes in several colors. I'm using a little bit of purple. All right, so now our eyes are done, but we still have a few other parts of the face. So we're going to do some rainbows on the cheeks and the lips. But these are fairly simple and won't take very much time. So we're going to start out. We're doing some basic contouring. We're going to use a small powder brush like this, using basically the same colors that we used for our eyes. We'll start with the warm colors, and I'm going to start with the red on the cheek. So you want this to be very light. So do this right on the cheekbone. And then your orange. Go ahead and cross over where you were with the red. Now for the cheeks, unlike the eyes, I am going to use the lighter yellow that's kind of shimmery. And then green. Again, the lighter. You want a really light touch on the cheeks. You don't want it to be really harsh. Now you should be starting to get underneath the cheekbones at this point. So now as you're getting to the turquoise, start to angle it down. Make sure to rub it in so that it's not too harsh, so that the edges are not too harsh. And your purple. And I think I want to go back and put just a really high highlight on the top, like nice, bright, shiny highlight on the top. I used this like light purple shiny color right above my cheekbones. Actually, I think I'm going to use just a tiny bit of that on my nose too for that highlight. All right, now the last thing is the lips. I call these my magic lips because you can use this for so many different things. When you don't have a particular color of lipstick or when you want something really fancy and interesting, all you need is clear lip balm. Now, lip balm works better than lip gloss, but clear lip balm, you put it on your lips and then you stick things to it. I'm going back to that same palette, the same colors, and I'm going to use my eyeshadow brush to loosen the eyeshadow. I'm going to start in the middle, so I'm going to start with green. Loosen the eyeshadow, and then you dab it onto the lip balm. Of course, you try to keep it within the confines of your lips. You can use a liner brush to line your lips as well. Clean them out and clean out your brush in between colors. I'm going to go across and do the rainbow. On my lips. I particularly like when I do multicolor lips to do the top and bottom together, even though they're different side to side, because it's a lot easier to be able to do the thing. But also some designs are really cool when you do a different color top and bottom. Like I said, this trick works for any colors you want on your lips. I've seen zebra lips. I've seen ruby slipper lips. All sorts of different options. And go in the opposite direction. I need my orange. And I need my red, burgundy red. Rainbow lips. All right, last step. I've got a little bit of loose iridescent glitter. And I'm just going to tap, 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 tap. And setting spray. This is NYX Dewy Finish. I'm going to hold my breath, close my eyes, about a foot away from my face. Since this is a rainbow fairy, I like to have a few extra accessories. So I have my rainbow fairy wings. There's so many different kinds of fairy wings out there. But these are my favorite because they're just the most comfortable to wear and they're fun to play with. Like to run around outside and have them flying behind you. It's somewhere between being a superhero and a fairy. And then I have my fairy crown. And so, my beautiful fairies, I'm going to close with a little reading from one of my favorite fairy pieces of literature, A Midsummer Night's Dream. If we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended, that you have but slumbered here, while these visions did appear, and this weak and idle theme no more yielding but a dream. Gentles, do not reprehend. If you pardon, we will mend. And as I am an honest Puck, if we have unearned luck, now to scape the serpent's tongue, we will make amends ere long. Else the Puck a liar call. So good night unto you all. Give me your hands if we be friends, and Robin shall restore amends.